Hi everyone, my name is Beth Fox and I am a student in the Masters of Public Health at Liberty University with a concentration in nutrition. And for my practicum, I developed a supplementary curriculum for nutrition for middle school students. A little bit of background information on the next slide. When we think of malnutrition, we tend to think of hunger and starvation, not getting enough calories. And while this is a significant problem, with about 13% of homes in America being food insecure, the bigger problem in America is when we apply the bigger definition of malnutrition. So malnutrition really just applies anytime there is something bad or wrong or problematic in nutrition. So this can certainly refer to what most of us think of with not getting enough calories, but it can also refer to the other end of the spectrum when people are consuming way too many calories, which can lead to becoming overweight or obese and the significant health implications that come with that. And probably the least thought of is those who are consuming an adequate amount of calories, but their calories aren't coming from nutrient-dense sources and they're not getting adequate micronutrients, which can lead to lots of health problems down the road. On the next slide, we talk a little bit about why it's important for an intervention to be targeted specifically at adolescents. So we're all probably aware that adolescents don't always make the best choices, but it hasn't been until recent advances in adolescent neurodevelopment that we've really begun to have sustainable theories for why that is. So adolescents are actually, in laboratory settings, they're great at making decisions. They're actually better than some adults. They are perfectly capable of looking at the long-term consequences, understanding that, realizing that they're susceptible to that, and understanding the impact that something's going to have on their life, and making good, sound, rational decisions. The problem is, that's only in laboratory settings. And what we see in the real world, that doesn't carry over. So there's two main neurosystems that are developing during adolescence. And the first one, it develops very quickly. There's a huge growth in development right about the time that puberty starts. And that is the system that we often refer to as a socio-emotional system. And this system includes the amygdala, it's the dopaminergic system. So this is the reward system. This is the one that says, that was fun, let's do it again, let's do it faster, harder, scarier. And this is also the brain system that loves social interaction, social stimuli. The sudden development in this system leads to adolescents not so much caring about the long-term effects. They're much more interested in the effect this is going to have in their life right now, and they're even more concerned and interested in what this decision is going to make their friends think of them. Is this a decision that's going to make them more popular? Is this a decision that other peers their age are doing? And these same principles carry over to nutrition. So if we're in an environment where eating healthy and being active, that's what everybody's doing, that's the cool thing to do, teens are going to want to eat healthy. There's still going to be that draw to junk food because of the immediate pleasure, but we can help moderate a lot of that by making an environment where healthy choices are supported. So the second system that is developing through adolescence is what we call the cognitive control system. And this is primarily the prefrontal cortex of the brain. And this is where we get the ability to slow our decision-making process down. And so we're more readily able to make decisions that we might not like to make. That peer pressure, the peer influence declines significantly as we leave adolescence and transition into adulthood. This is primarily the early to mid-20s as this cognitive control system is really coming to full maturation. So for this study, on the next slide, the study, we went into a small Christian school here in Lynchburg. The administration actually reached out to us. They said that their students were having nutritional issues, and they did not elaborate on that. So the first goal in this intervention was to go into the school and try to figure out exactly what those nutritional issues were. And to accomplish that, I created two tools The first one is a questionnaire that I developed myself, so we don't have a lot of commentary on the reliability or validity of it, but it was a basic questionnaire just to kind of get a feel for what their nutrition knowledge is. So this questionnaire asks things like how many servings of dairy should you get each day? What food groups do various different foods fall into? The main important thing about this questionnaire is there was no questions about what they did. There were no questions about their habits. This was solely to assess what they knew about nutrition and about their nutritional needs. The second survey, on the other hand, was the exact opposite. So this was the nutrition behaviors inventory, and to create this inventory, I combined parts of the youth behavior risk factor survey along with the school nutrition and physical activity survey. And in order to assist the students in doing this, before they took the inventory, I actually had them complete a 24-hour food log so that they could see exactly what they were eating in a 24-hour span. And then they were able to take that information from their food log and put that into the inventory. And the goal with that was to try to eliminate some of the recall bias so that they could actually look and count how many servings of the different food groups they were eating. So the students who participated in this, it was a class of 19, and 16 students participated in both questionnaires and had their BMI calculated. The ages ranged from 10 to 13. Both genders were represented relatively equally in the sample. However, the sample was primarily Caucasian. There was one student of color in the class. So on the next slide, we have two graphs. And the first graph we have is access to fruits at home. And the students on this one were split almost 50-50. About half of them reported having consistent access to fruit at home, and about half of them didn't. And the second graph is access to vegetables, which this was surprising to me. More students reported having consistent access to vegetables at home. However, what we saw when we looked at their actual intake, which is on the next slide, most of the class is down in that lower part, eating 0 to 3 servings of fruits and vegetables each day, as opposed to the recommended 5 servings each day. So that does go to show that a lot more goes into play in getting adolescents to actually eat what they're supposed to eat, other than just having access. And then the other graph on this slide shows the number of days per week that they engaged in at least 60 minutes of physical activity. And so this one is much closer to a normal distribution. We have most of our students having had physical activity 3 to 4 days a week. So not quite as high as we would like to see it, as the recommendation is to get 60 minutes of exercise every day, but definitely heading in the right direction. So we took that information to develop our intervention. So we based our intervention on the whole school, whole community, whole child model. And this model is a combination of 2 models that have been around for decades. So in this particular curriculum, we're really hoping that this is the start of a program that will last a very long time and create a partnership between this school and the public health department at Liberty University. So what this intervention was solely designed for the fall semester. It included 6 co-curricular lessons focusing on topics such as BMI, teaching students how to read nutrition facts labels. There are also lessons on looking at food in the media and how do we interpret advertisements about food. Are they giving us positive messages? There are 6 of these, and each one of them linked directly to math, science, and English SOLs, Virginia SOLs, at the 7th and 8th grade level. So this made them easy to integrate into the classroom. So instead of having to make a designated nutrition period where they would need a nutrition student or a trained nutritionist to come in and educate the class, what we did instead to make this more self-sufficient is we wrote these lessons specifically designed to be integrated into the current classroom curriculum, and we provided the resources for the classroom teachers to teach these lessons while providing contact information and outside resources that they could go to if the students had questions that weren't addressed in the provided material. So the second part of this program were 3 extracurricular activities. And for this stage, we really just provided a brief outline description of what these activities could contain. And these were based on the standards of learning for health for 7th and 8th grade students. And so the 3 that we chose to focus on in this intervention were fitness, heart health, and brain health neurodevelopment. So we are planning the last Monday of the months of September, October, and November to have more of a school-wide community type event where we're going to encourage the families to come. We're going to reach out and try to get different community members to come in, and we're going to teach a little bit on these topics, and then we're going to encourage the students to get involved in them while creating a social environment where these topics are important and discussed. So for example, for fall fitness, we're going to have relay games and getting them up, getting them moving in ways that are fun for them as an adolescent. For October, when we talk about heart health, we're going to get the students enrolled in the jump rope for heart and try to make it a competition between the different students, so they've got that social stimulus along with being physically active to improve their own heart health while supporting an organization that is doing research and working to promote heart health on a wider scale. So that's my presentation. Thank you for watching.